Well, hello Northside family. In this video, it's my pleasure to talk to you about Google Tasks, a really helpful system that you can use to keep yourself organized. In the past, we've given you a paper diary, but we found students weren't really engaging with this. And we want you to be responsible people who can manage themselves to be successful. That's what this is all about. And Google Tasks, built into our Google Suite, is a really handy way to do that. Now, if you do prefer a paper diary, or if you already have some kind of digital system that works well for you, that's fine. You have autonomy, you can use that. But since Google Tasks is built into the Google Suite that we all use every day, we think this is a really helpful way that you can manage yourself and keep on track with everything you need to get done. Life is complex, and being a student presents a lot of challenges with all the things that you need to manage and stay on top of. I really love this quote: "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You might have the best of intentions, the highest aspirations for yourself, but you won't rise to those goals unless you have the systems in place that will help you to be effective and productive." So while I go through lots of practical steps related to Google Tasks, I'm going to be drawing on ideas from Jeff Su, who's a productivity trainer with Google. And he talks about the CORE principle. CORE, C-O-R-E. Capture everything in one place. Organize it with due dates and helpful names. Review regularly, so you're coming back to your task list and nothing slipping through the cracks. And last of all, and most importantly, engage, actually get things done. So I'll be referring to this CORE principle as I go through the practical steps of using Google Tasks. I'm going to give the basics, the essentials, but I'm also going to give lots of helpful tips and different things you could try. I'll leave chapter marks so that you can jump around and refer back to things to help to keep it manageable. So with some of those big ideas in mind, let's get into the practical steps. So first up, how do you access Google Tasks? Well, there's several ways you can get to it. It does have its own dedicated page, which you can see on my screen now. And you get to that by simply going to tasks.google.com. You can also, from any of the Google apps, when you see this grid icon, you can click on that. I put mine right near the top. You might need to scroll down to find it for yourself. Click on Tasks and it will take you to this same page. I would highly recommend that you bookmark this page because, as I said before, you need to review your task list often. So I would bookmark it, add it to your bookmarks bar, and even make it your homepage so it's the first place you come to. But that's not the only way you can access Google Tasks from anywhere in the Google Suite, whether that's Gmail or Google Calendar or Google Drive. You might not have noticed that on the right-hand side here, you have a menu that includes this little checkmark icon for tasks. And when you click on that, it opens a sidebar with your task list. This can be a really handy way to refer to it because then when you're editing a Google Doc or when you're in your email inbox, you can be referring to it straight away. So the first step of the process is capture. Every time you have something you need to do, it needs to go in this one place in your task list. That could be an idea you've had for yourself or something a teacher's assigned you. But if you need to remember it, if it's something you need to do, it needs to go here in your tasks list. Adding a task is super quick and super simple. As I said, you can do it from the tasks page, from within Gmail or within Calendar. Wherever you are in the Google Suite, you can add a task. And I've got an empty task list here, so straight away I can just click Add a Task. I'm ready to type in the details. So my teacher's just told me I need to do exercise 1.2, so I can just write that in. Done. That simple. Now, I do want to help you stay organized a bit, the second principle of CORE. So if I just name it exercise 1.2, I'm likely to forget a lot of the details. For example, exercise 1.2 from which textbook or from what website. So I'm going to recommend a naming convention, and I'll explain later why this is so helpful. It's helpful for a whole variety of reasons. At the start of the task, every single time, I'm going to put what subject this relates to if it is a task related to my schoolwork. So if this was Year 10 History, I'd just type in the code that we use across Sector and Schoology and other platforms, 10 Hist, and then I know, okay, this is my history work, exercise 1.2. Now, another really important thing is to put in a due date. When I use Google Tasks for about 15 years, and I would often just write in by whatever the date is, what's today's date? So 19th Jan, I might put the day. So you can put forgot how to type. So you can put the date right there in the name. That's sort of helpful because it brings it to your attention. But an even better thing to do is give it a due date. Now, you might think that a due date means one of these options right here. You can say, okay, I'm going to do this today, or I'm going to do this tomorrow, or I can click the date time icon and choose a different date. But that's actually not setting the due date. That's setting the action date, the date when you're going to do the task, which is very important, don't get me wrong. But before we do that, when your teacher's just said, hey, by next Friday, you need to get this homework done, we don't want to say, okay, I'm going to do it on Friday. It's due on Friday. I need to do it before. By clicking the 3 dots here, I can then add a deadline. That's the actual due date, the deadline. By adding it here, so let's say the teacher said it's due Friday. I can say Friday the 16th. By adding the deadline there, we can then later, as we get more and more tasks, as you can see in this example over here, we can sort them by our due dates to help us set priorities. So we'll come back to that in a moment. Along with the name, we can also add additional details. So I might need to know that the teacher said exercise 1.2, but I want to remember that skip question 3. I might want to add ask. I'm typing very badly. Ask Susie for advice, whatever. Right, so you can add additional details or notes. Don't go overboard. You don't want to write whole essays here, but adding some extra details so that you don't forget. Don't trust your brain to remember things. Get the ideas here, get the key information here. So now I've got a consistent name. I've got the deadline. I can also, while I'm editing this, choose when I'm actually going to do it. So if I know it's due Friday, I can say I need to get this done tomorrow. And as we get a full list, I'll show you why setting the action date tomorrow and why setting the actual deadline as well as giving that name is really helpful. So I'll come back to that later in this video. There's a whole lot of other features in Google Tasks. If you click the 3 dots here, task options, you can see you can add subtasks. I've actually got that down here. So I've got a big project here, Year 10 history, I need to spark a revolution, and then I can have multiple steps underneath it. You can add additional lists. So you could have one list for each subject, but I find when you do that, you start losing things because they're in so many different places. I prefer to have everything just in one go. You can set a task to recurring. So for example, you might say, every Monday, I want to look over my revision notes for science. So you could set every Monday a repeating task to do that. Another really great feature of Google Tasks is because it's embedded in our whole Google suite, if we're in the email inbox with the tasks on the sidebar and a teacher, let's say, has emailed you with the instructions for a task, you can drag that and drop it and create a new task straight from your emails. You can archive that email now because you've actually got the details of it here in the task. You can click it to open it, and then you can do all the same things. You can rename the task, so you can actually say this is for Year 10 math. Give it whatever description you want. You can give it a deadline. You can give it an action date as well. So it's that simple to create a task from an email. So there's lots that you can explore, and I encourage you to experiment and find the techniques that work best for you, but I'm going to keep it really simple, and I do think that often less is more. Simple titles with the subject, set the action date, set the deadline. Keep it as simple as that. So I'm going to jump ahead now and pretend that I've been diligently capturing all the tasks that I need to do, and I've ended up with this longer list with lots on it. So the next thing is I need to review this list. Every time I sit down to do my homework, every time I've got scheduled time when I'm going to engage with my tasks, I'm going to start by looking at this list. And then I can go through another process of organizing and prioritizing. A helpful way I can do that, because I've set a deadline for everything, is I can up here change it from my order, which I like to use to put them by subject. Also, if I've named them consistently, I can sort by title, and they'll straight away jump into the different subjects. So you can see English is listed first because E is before H and H is before M. And so that's a really easy way to sort them. Or I can have my own order and I can drag and drop things to to sort of set priorities that way and put things at the top of the list. But since I've set a deadline for everything, I can choose sort by deadline, and now it's sorted by the due date, the actual deadline when I need to get each one done. And so I can start prioritizing based on how challenging tasks are, by what my mind's ready for right now, but also importantly by what's coming up next. So let's say it's Monday and I'm looking at the week ahead. I can see I've got one thing due Thursday, one due Friday, and another due Wednesday next week. But I've got the whole day free. I've set aside today to do some work. So I'm going to try to get a little bit ahead. I can hover on each of these tasks and see there's this little star here. I can star all the ones that I'm going to get done. Maybe actually I don't want to do this one on Wednesday, but I'm doing English, I'm doing maths. I also want to do this English task that's due a whole week away. But while I'm focusing on English, that's a good thing to do. So I'm reviewing and I'm organizing what my priorities are to help myself be, flow with my work. Once I've starred, notice on the left here, I can click on Start, and then I will just see the task that I've starred. This helps to filter out the noise and lets me focus just on the priorities that I need to do right now. As I finish each task, it's super simple to click the tick box, and this will remove them from my list and archive them as completed so I can go back and find them later. Back in this list, at the bottom, you can see completed. And then if I realize I hadn't actually finished something, or I just want to double check what I've done already, I can open the completed list to see that. Now, if you want to get even better organized, if you want to sort of map out your whole week or fortnight, then that's where Google Calendar comes in really handy. I've got my calendar empty here, but you could have your subjects and other commitments on your calendar. Open the sidebar, same as we did in email, and then you can see all of your tasks here and you can start mapping them out. So I can see this is due on Thursday, so I'm going to say, okay, I need to work on that actually today. That's my top priority. This task is due on Friday. I want to make sure I get that done at least by Wednesday so I can drag it onto the day. So you can see you can quickly start to map out your week and set your priorities looking at a bigger picture view. Perhaps in a future video, I'll show an even more advanced technique called time blocking, where you can map out the exact time and minute that you're going to commit to each task. But that's pretty advanced, so I'll save that for another day. Okay, that's it. I hope you've followed along and found that helpful. I just want to reiterate the core principle. Capture everything in one place in Google Tasks. Organize with consistent naming conventions and set deadlines. Review every time you sit down to do your work and take another opportunity to organize and prioritize your tasks. And finally, once you know what you need to prioritize, engage. Focus in on the most important things and get them done right now. I hope you found this really helpful and really useful as you work on being a more autonomous human being, managing yourself and taking charge and responsibility for your own life.